Hello, I'm Scott Soshnick.
And I'm Eben Novi-Williams, and this is the Stars on Display sports business podcast, the Sporticast.
Well, it's not bad, but I feel like you stole what I said we would do at the start. That's what I think. I don't think you'd have gone that route.
And as soon as I started saying Stars, I realized that the Stars also just lost to the Oilers.
Yes, not the Dallas Stars on display. Superstar, global superstars.
Well, that's what we're stuck with. Stars on Display, Scott.
Well, speaking of stars on display, and I've texted this for a few people. You were not on the list of my texting needed to see because I figured you'd catch it. But did you see that Connor McDavid goal last night?
I saw it.
I
did.
Now, here's a bit of the problem. Yeah, but here may be a bit of the problem for the NHL. I have no idea if a casual sports fan will look at that and be like mind blown. Holy, you know what? Like only Connor McDavid makes this play. It's like the NFL thing. You remember where the Cowboys guy, whoever it was, caught the one-handed catch on Monday Night Football or whatever it was. That went viral. That was everywhere in like 10 minutes. The whole, oh my God, did you see? That deserves the same treatment. Oh my God, what a move.
Yeah, I can answer this partially with my focus group of one. As I mentioned on the last podcast, Janet, my partner, became an Oilers fan because she was, as knowing nothing about hockey, was so impressed with watching Connor skate in the All-Star game competitions. And she was like, this guy's better than everybody else on the ice. How is this possible? She watched that goal.
Okay.
Wasn't impressed in the way that I think you or I were, which is, oh my gosh, there's only one person on the planet that can pull
one guy
off,
can make that happen,
and it's him. So yeah, I think, every sport has this in some degree, right? There's things that diehards or people who know the sport watch, and they're like, oh my God, the amount of skill needed to pull that off is incredible. And sometimes it's obvious, right? Sometimes it's Odell Beckham making that Monday Night Football catch, and everyone in the world knows. And Connor McDavid scores goals like that, to be very clear. He has also scored those types of goals. And then you see ones like this where it's a little bit more nuanced. It happens very quickly. It's very fast. You need to watch it in slow motion, even to appreciate.
Yeah, you had to see that angle from the low angle. Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of both. But that game, as we said, eliminated the Stars. We now have the matchup for the NHL Stanley Cup Finals. We have the Florida Panthers. We have the Edmonton Oilers. I think, as we discussed last week, any big profile, high profile NHL series that showcases Connor McDavid, the best player in hockey, is an absolute win for the NHL. And I think that they should be thrilled with the fact that for the first time in his career, and it's different from the NBA. Hockey's a different animal. It doesn't happen all the time for all the best players. For the first time in his career, Connor McDavid is playing for a Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, but certainly, at least if you get McDavid, knowing he's in Edmonton, one that doesn't count in the ratings, Canadian.
But it counts in that people are still watching.
Yes, I mean, but the Stanley Cup Final is going to do great numbers in Canada anyway. So people are going to watch, and a Canadian team hasn't won the Stanley Cup since the Canadiens, Le Habitant, in '93. Yep. So they are carrying the Canadians forward for a Stanley Cup championship. But like, if you really wanted to smile from the NHL on the other side of that bracket, I would have loved the New York Rangers or Boston Bruins. Big market, original 6 team that would really bring some casual eyeballs to it.
I think you're right. I do, and media not my specialty, as people who listen to this pod well understand, especially ratings. I don't understand the obsession with ratings. To me, that obviously leagues don't get their choice, but this to me highlights the fallacy of the whole ratings idea, right? Because I do think, and I'm sure people who work in that industry are going to feel a little bit differently. I think I can make an argument for, if the ratings are going to be smaller because it's a Canadian team, the fact that Connor McDavid, again, the fact that the best player, the guy that people like my partner can watch on the ice and say, oh my gosh, that is different than everybody else. That is very cool. The fact that he, again, is playing in your highest profile games seems to be a huge win. And sure, you'd maybe rather the Kings for their market, but I don't know. I can't think of a better team for promoting the game of NHL. And
Janet doesn't look at Anze Kopitar saying, oh my God.
Yeah, Drew Doughty doesn't do it for her. I can't think of a better team to be in the finals for converting not just people who are going to tune in for a Stanley Cup Finals game, but for turning those people into someone who is going to turn on a game next season or moving forward. And that seems like the big value here. Ratings be damned. The fact that the highlight reel that is Connor McDavid and this Oilers offense is on display, I think is the best possible result for the NHL.
So are you getting a jersey for Janet? Are you going to get her a 97 jersey?
It's funny. I've been thinking about it.
You should pull the trigger. She'd appreciate that.
But,
no, you're not, but she'd appreciate at least the thought.
Like a retro Oiler or something, that's for sure.
Well, oh, wait. All right. So knowing Janet, I think she would appreciate an Esa Tikkanen.
A classic.
Yeah.
Been a fan for years type of jersey.
Yeah, and it's not the Gretzky, it's not the Curry, it's not the coffee. I think an Esa Tikkanen. That says a little something.
She's very big on Stuart Skinner's redemption tour as well.
Feels
like he was because I told her was maligned too much in the beginning of the season, and now is proving all of his haters wrong, which is not wrong.
7 more games, my man. You better don't give it softies now. Don't start giving up softies in the championship series. That would be a problem. You don't want that.
For folks who are curious in terms of where these teams rank in Sportico's valuations, the Oilers, number 8, $1.59 billion. Scott and I talked at length about the Oilers and their really interesting real estate business in a previous episode last week. So if people are curious, they should check that out. You got to go pretty far down to find the Panthers, Scott. Number 29 of the 32 teams, $910 million is their valuation.
Back-to-back Stanley Cup Finals. They'll be over $1 billion next year.
They will probably be over $1 billion
on their own merit, not the others, on their own merit.
But this stuff, a success like this doesn't fundamentally change the valuation of your franchise. That's for sure.
Shout out to our friend of the program, Sean Thornton, CRO, former player, CRO of the Panthers. Probably got his busy meeting schedule, feet up meeting with sponsors saying, I want more money and I want longer deals back to back. We're going to bring home a Stanley Cup this year. What do you want?
How are we going to price tickets next year?
Yeah. Have you been to that arena?
I have not been to that arena. I've got some friends on my hockey team. Actually, we played a game in New York. We had a noon game on Saturday, and 4 of them went essentially straight from the game to the airport, flew down for the 8 p.m. Saturday game in Sunrise. Rangers fans, so I'm not sure if they had the best time they could have had, but I've never been to the stadium.
I have been there, and it's well north of Miami, so it's good 45 minutes to an hour north of Miami. And Sunrise. Yeah. It's way up there. So just a little bit different. It's Amerant Bank Arena. Do you ever do any banking at Amerant Bank?
I can't say that I have.
I can't say that I have either. I wonder if I'm curious. This would be really fun. ROI back to back. Ask the bank sort of what has been the business upside of the relationship with the Panthers at this time. Can you give us the ROI, the tangible ROI? It'd be good business case study. I know what the tangible.
How do you think the Panthers did capacity this year? 41 home games. What capacity were they at percentage-wise for those games?
I will say, how about, do I want to go, my line of demarcation in my brain is 80%. My question is, do I want to go over the 8 or do I want to put a 7 in front of it and say high 7s? Your smile gave a little bit away. I'm going to go even low. I'm going to put a 7 in front of it. 79% capacity.
Okay. The 97%. Capacity.
Connor McDavid percent capacity.
And the Oilers are at 98%. That I would have gone way lower than 97% also. The Panthers are a team historically that have been criticized for their attendance, but it's a good team. Obviously the fans are coming out. I'm surprised by that number. There's opportunity, certainly if you think about ticket prices. I'm sure if they are already more or less at full capacity for the entire year, how they think about that. If Sean comes on the show, would love to ask him that. But I'm surprised that they're
I'll ask him offline and get an answer for you. How about that?
There is only one team in the league, Scott, this year was below 80%, just to set that framework for you.
Okay,
do you have a guess as to who that was?
No, I don't want to guess. Who's that?
It was the San Jose Sharks. Not the best Sharks team that they have.
Wasn't a great team, no, but I would think you had availability and cheap tickets, so you go.
Yeah, so in fact, there's only 3 teams under 90%. The Winnipeg Jets, surprising because they had a good year, at 89%. Buffalo Sabres at 84%, and then the San Jose Sharks
good young team.
at 77.8%.
All right. And would not have
That's
guessed
it for
us.
the trivia portion of the Sporticast.
Exactly. All right. Well, we talked about one great player in the top. You said superstars. One was Connor McDavid, and he gets his shot at a Stanley Cup now. And two is Kylian Mbappé. I know my focus group of one runs around the house pretending to be Mbappé every now and then. Mm-hmm. But did you watch Champions League at all?
I saw a little bit of I turned in for the exciting part. I watched the final 25 minutes or so, saw both goals. Janet also now a big Vinicius Jr. fan. She just liked his cute smile. We watched the final 30 minutes of that. Historic year for Real Madrid. They won La Liga, winning Champions League, and then as we record this, it hasn't happened yet, but we're expecting any minute now Kylian Mbappé, maybe the best player in the world, depending on who you ask, to join them from Paris Saint-Germain. So, quite a little run here for Real Madrid.
And boy, I tell you, Real could have lost that game. There were several good opportunities Bayern's way, and
Dortmund's way.
I'm sorry, Borussia Dortmund's way. Sorry. See, German soccer, I go right, but still, I'm defaulting to Bayern Munich. Yeah, Borussia Dortmund's way. The focus group of one loved the yellow wall, loved the flares.
Yeah,
really, but they did have some scoring opportunities early and just could not capitalize. Oof,
one of the interesting things to me about Mbappé moving is that he's going to take a pretty hefty pay cut to join Real Madrid, and that's not something you hear that often from international soccer stars. He was obviously paid quite handsomely at PSG, which is owned by the Qatari state. If he cared about money, he would probably be playing in Saudi Arabia, where, according to reports, he was offered a whole lot more money than he's even making at PSG. But going to Real Madrid is going to a team that has a slightly different cost and expenditure structure and different motivations. So you see it in some team sports with the salary cap when guys are willing to take pay cuts to help the team. You don't see it that often for a soccer star in his prime to be taking a pay cut like this. And Kurt Badenhausen, I'm sure at Sportico.com is going to have all of those details. But an interesting wrinkle here that a star in the prime of his career in soccer, where there is no salary cap at all, is going to be seemingly taking a pay cut to continue in Real Madrid.
What has been your take on sort of the relative visibility of one Cristiano Ronaldo since going to Al Nassr?
In my world, I would say it's decreased quite a bit.
Yeah, significant, right?
But I also don't think that I am Cristiano Ronaldo's target consumer. And if you told me, this would be a great question for us to explore, or someone on our staff to explore, but if you told me that his platform is significantly bigger now because it's opened up opportunities in the Middle East and opened up opportunities in other parts of Russia, of Europe and Asia, I would maybe believe that, but certainly from a casual soccer fan sitting in America, I feel like I am seeing significantly less Ronaldo coverage, stories, highlights than I have in the past. How about you?
Yeah, same. I don't see him. I don't know if the overall dollars and cents has seen any diminution for Ronaldo. Of course, the ability to take any messages directly to your fans and your Instagram and your Twitter, that certainly helps.
That stuff is still strong.
Yeah. But so too does, by the way, you cannot discount the affiliation of Mbappé. You cannot discount the affiliation of a premium global brand like Real Madrid. That also will enable him to capitalize on personal deals simply playing for that team and succeeding for that team.
Yeah, the Cristiano Ronaldo was the highest paid athlete in the world last year by our rankings. He made more in salary alone
right,
than everybody else in salary and endorsements combined. So 215 in salary and winnings, and then another 60 million in endorsements. The next on the list was John Rahm, $203 million, and he's there as a technicality because of the timing of his essentially signing bonus through Live Golf. Kylian Mbappé, number 5 on the list at 125 million. But again, I would expect him to actually likely to drop on this list because the salary goes down quite a bit. Connor McDavid's got, no surprise, not in the top 100 of highest paid athletes in the world, despite his undeniable hockey talents.
At least Real makes a few bucks being in Champions League, right? I think Asla Pelitz wrote. The win is worth like 92 mil, could go as high as 150 mil. So yeah, finishing in the Champions League itself, obviously important for these clubs. Winning the Champions League, obviously another bump for the clubs. And if they're bringing in Mbappe, even though they're not breaking the bank for him, certainly that winning will help them out in their ability to pay him.
And in the kind of the ever present kind of death race between Real Madrid and Barcelona in Spain in terms of valuations, this is another feather. Both the La Liga win and then another Champions League title, another feather in their cap. We have Real Madrid as the second most valuable soccer team in the world, ahead of Barcelona, which is third.
Right.
And I imagine that the last week will only help to, at least in a tiny piece, bump them up a little bit more.
I'm old enough to remember when it was Barcelona Real rivalry, and it was Lionel Messi on one side and Ronaldo on the other, and the world is upside down. I'm sorry. Now, what if I told you back then, the heyday of this, say just wait a few years, what's going to happen is you're going to have Leo Messi playing in MLS in Miami, and by the way, causing hysteria. And Ronaldo, he's going to go to Saudi Arabia and just take the money and play for Al Nassr. That's where that's where this is going. We can see, I think, a little bit down the road. You and I would have both said, "Nah, that ain't happening."
And to take it one step further, that young hotshot stud on Barcelona named Neymar, he's going to be in Saudi Arabia also.
Yeah, he'll be in Saudi Arabia also.
Playing for Al Hilal. Definitely a different era in soccer, and also just in those players and their career arcs.
All right. This morning I had the absolute pleasure, much like I go to the webs and try to get the Olive Garden pasta pass. And
it's a little deja vu here.
Yeah, it is deja vu. You, our old colleague Janet Paskin, everybody would be up trying to get me the lifetime pasta pass. I never ever got it, but I did at least get the 3-week one where you could get as much soup and salad and pasta as you'd like for $100. They knew my name there at the 23rd Street. Definitely got my money's worth. They lost money on me, as did Red Lobster on the all-you-can-eat shrimp. But it was my pleasure, and you did not ask for any assistance. You were just like, wait. But you were on the interwebs this morning, very disappointed to go on the U.S. Open website, and you were trying to buy tickets for which day was it? Not like men's final or women's final.
No, the first Thursday, the
first Thursday of the tournament,
U.S. Open. Yeah, if anyone's out there on that Thursday, hit me up.
Yep. So I peeked over at your screen, and it was like you were in queue, as they say. Like 570 people in front of you in a stadium that you were looking for that holds how many?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the actual number is. 10,000, 15,000?
Yes.
Like that. Yeah.
But you were surprised there were this many people in front of you. And then you started a bit of a vitriolic, I wouldn't say it a rage, but you went off on sort of the ticket process here.
This is a Ticketmaster process. Anyone who has bought in-demand concert tickets or sports tickets probably understands a little bit of the frustration I was feeling today. Logging in I was there right at 9 a.m., right as tickets went on sale. Logging in was difficult. There was a 2-factor authentication that I didn't realize I had to do that also delayed me. And then, for a ticket that I know is not a crazy in-demand thing, I had to wait 25 minutes to get through the waitlist line. And in the end, good news, I ended up getting tickets roughly where I wanted them, upper bowl. Thank you. But
you were too cheap to spring for India-Pakistan cricket on Long Island, but you went for this instead.
$115 only tickets for me. But it comes obviously at a time when the U.S. government, I think it was last week, finally announced its lawsuit against Live Nation and Ticketmaster, which are the same company, antitrust lawsuit, essentially aimed at the various ways in which, according to the government, Live Nation and Ticketmaster, which control in a lot of ways, they own venues, they manage artists, they promote concerts, and they also do a lot of the ticket selling. According to the government, they are using their position in all of those things to hinder competition. And one of the things that is front and center in that lawsuit is the process I went through today, is the fact that it is very frustrating, increasingly frustrating, it seems, for consumers who are trying to get tickets for big events and find themselves waiting too long. The tech doesn't work. But
SeatGeek will tell you, SeatGeek will tell you we're a technology company. We just happen to focus on tickets.
Yeah.
Right. So the ticket company, or is it a technology company?
Yeah, I think in part of the argument against Ticketmaster, we should say that Ticketmaster obviously feels differently about this government lawsuit. Part of the argument is that when you are this entrenched in the industry, you don't have a need to invest in your user experience, because in some ways users don't have anywhere else to go.
How
right?
short-sighted. You got to know though, if if you're a market leader, you have got to keep up UX. Customers start having bad experiences, you are inviting someone to come and take your market share.
That's partially true, right? But if I'm trying to buy tickets from the US Open to go to the US Open, I don't have a choice, right? I have to wait in the queue unless I want to wait into the secondary market.
For now, until the USTA takes notice of all these unhappy customers and said there's got to be a better way, and somebody comes in and funds this, whatever it may be, their ability to sell their own tickets and resale, and they say, wait a minute, we can make more money doing it this way. So beware, Ticketmaster. That's what I will say to you. Beware.
Yeah, and again, the argument that the government is making, and the US Open is maybe not the best example here because they don't do too much on the concert side. But the argument they're making is that because of all the things that Live Nation and Ticketmaster do, it's hard for venues to say, yeah, users don't like this experience, I'm going to go to StubHub, I'm going to go to a different platform, because then Live Nation can say, oh, okay, well, Taylor Swift is not playing your stadium anymore, or this other huge concert series we have in arenas is not going to your arena anymore, or the terms to have those artists just change drastically. That's the way that the government is looking at it. And one of the interesting things, Scott, and we can move on after this, but one of the things that stuck out to me is if you read the government's complaint, sports does not come up at all. This is really, really aimed
about
the
concert venues,
the concert and the music side, because
it all became out as Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Taylor Swift was a big impetus here. And because the way that Live Nation can control the ecosystem is different in concerts than in sports, right? They don't own any of the sports teams. They don't, I don't think, own any of the major US league sports venues either. So the conversation is a little bit different. But if you look at where Taylor Swift played in the US, there's a whole bunch of NFL stadiums there, and the NFL is a Ticketmaster partner. So this dynamic of partnering with Ticketmaster potentially gets you access to Live Nation clients, and vice versa. Working with Live Nation clients can get you Ticketmaster access as well. That is actually, I do believe, I'm sure, whether it's stated or unstated, a real thing, a real thought, and a real concern for sports teams around the country.
Or you could just look at it that those happen to be the largest venues out there. So that's where she's going to play. I mean, there are some college venues as well. She should play what? She play Penn State, Michigan.
Yeah, I don't know. Do I think that the NFL having a Ticketmaster partnership helped?
Doesn't hurt.
Some of those stadiums book Taylor Swift. I do probably believe that.
Sure,
yeah,
certainly doesn't hurt.
And the government might use even stronger words than I would use there. But yeah, these are intertwined. Even though sports does not really appear in the lawsuit, Ticketmaster and sports is obviously a big piece of the Live Nation business, not as big as concerts, but and it could have, depending on the way this lawsuit goes, could have big effects for sports teams.
What I'll say this as a segue, and you can praise me when we're done, is that Ticketmaster's hold on the industry is unrivaled.
Very good. Very good.
See, you didn't want to praise me, and then you realize you had to. That's what that face said right there. You're like, oh, he did it again. Like, I have to say something
for
nice.
Now. Yeah, so speaking of unrivaled, Scott,
yes,
3-on-3 women's basketball league being launched by two WNBA stars, Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart, just raised money from a group of pretty high-profile investors looking to begin play, I think, in January, so early next year. Again, looking to capitalize on the increased interest in women's sports and the increased stardom of women's basketball players specifically. I'm really interested to see where this goes.
Certainly the impetus is we don't want our players having to go elsewhere to play. And we all know that a new media deal, the WNBA, is coming. You already see some charter flights have started. So times they are changing in terms of how the female athletes are treated. I was watching some of the softball, even though it was like a rain delay. I was watching some of the softball, and you could see sort of even in the game presentation in terms of how many cameras and the tech that was there and how it was presented by ESPN, that there was greater investment made than in previous years.
Yeah.
Because there's certainly a demand. So everything seems to be on the increase, including advertising dollars and sponsorship commitment. Now the question is, what are the legs, right? What is the longevity? Are we having a moment? Is it a sustained moment? You and I were in the office this morning talking about the foul on Caitlin Clark.
Yep.
Right. And just wondering why in the hell we were talking about the foul on Caitlin Clark, and why was anybody else talking about the foul on Caitlin Clark? It's like, whatever, this happens every weekend in almost every game that happens. So the water cooler conversation, just another metric in that, like, something is changing.
This Unrivaled feels a lot like TGL to me, the Monday Night Golf League that Tiger and Rory are starting. It is kind of an offshoot of an already more established league.
Mm-hmm.
It's a more concentrated version of Stardom, right? There's going to be 30 players in Unrivaled, and I would bet that they're going to be 30 of the top players in the WNBA.
Mm-hmm.
They're structuring it so that players get a little bit of equity, which is exactly what's happening in TGL as well. And I'm sure there's an overlap of investors here, but the investor list is interesting. A few that jumped out to me, we have David Levy, we have John Skipper, two of the more powerful sports TV agents.
One led TNT, one led ESPN,
one led ESPN,
Turner and ESPN. Yeah.
A couple other
I'm old enough to remember when Turner cared about basketball. Ooh,
good one.
Ooh, good one.
Later in the
good one.
Alex Morgan, Megan Rapinoe on this list. Steve Nash is an investor. Michelle Wee. A few others that jumped out to me. Ashton Kutcher. That guy's got great deal flow.
I saw him and his kids at the game recently.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. And Gino Auriemma investing here as well. I would be curious when we get the final 30, how many of them played for Gino Auriemma
28
at some point. But if you're looking to try to attract the best women's basketball players in the world to go to your thing, having Gino Auriemma there and as an investor and maybe helping recruit them seems like a pretty good name to have on the cap table.
Not a bad name on the cap table at all. Yeah, and again, you and I are just trying to chronicle it all, see what works, what sticks, what has legs, what has that staying power. Because
did you see the league minimum, by the way?
No, what's the league minimum?
Apparently the league minimum is going to be $100,000.
Yeah, sign them up, or go play in Russia.
Significantly more than the W is offering as a league minimum. Caitlin Clark's making $70,000, right, on base salary.
Yep.
And they're saying that's the highest average minimum salary in any professional women's sports league. So the money is there is good. And
let me count the sponsors that will be attached to this at launch. Okay, like let me think. One, if I was going to look it up, I would Google it. Okay, Google gonna be there. 2, Ally gonna be there, right? You want to help me out here? What are some of the other
CarMax
companies?
Maybe another.
I'm saying the point is sponsorship will certainly be invested here. I'm curious to see what sort of broadcast deal, where, when. This strikes me as like give me a lot of streaming with some over the air package. It's going to be really interesting to see how this moves forward.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
Obviously better if she's in it. How critical is it that you get Caitlin Clark signed up for this in year one?
How critical? Could you do this without Caitlin Clark is another way. I will rephrase. I think you got to have her. Yeah. You got to have her. Yeah. Just from casual interest, people say, why no Caitlin Clark? Or whether she's the best player or not, whether people know there's a Ja Wilson or whatever. Yeah. People know that this is the kind of thing, just that casual sports fan, you got to rope those eyeballs, and you do it with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah. I mean, I do think the product is a little bit different, right or wrongly, just given her place right now in the WNBA media and frenzy around it. I think having Asia Wilson and Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu is great, but I think the eyeballs will be significantly bigger again for right or for wrong if Caitlin Clark is part of this.
Hold on, I want to go to my WNBA.com right now, by the way, because I want standings. Have you seen, by the way, did you see the number of games that the WNBA schedule makers had Indiana playing?
It feels like they're playing every
right. So there we go. Here's ready. Indiana is 2-9. So I can do that math really fast. 2 and 9 is 11. Let me go to Las Vegas. How many games do you think Las Vegas has played?
Well, I think they've played 2 against the Fever at least.
They do, but give me. So one is 2 and 9 for 11 games. Las Vegas Aces. Guess what their record is?
I'm going to say they're 5-1.
4 and 2.
Yeah. Wow.
So you got the 6.
That's incredible. Yeah.
Double the number of games. I mean, my God. I think there was, if we could go back and do it all over again, or if the WNBA could go back and do it all over again, I 100% understand the desire and the approach of getting Caitlin Clark against the big teams, the big brands, the star players, whatever. But now if you could take a moment, step back and take a breath.
Yeah.
Caitlin Clark getting her head kicked in a lot early on might not have been the best way to go.
And it's funny, there's a big parallel. I can't remember if we talked about this on the show, between Caitlin Clark's debut in the WNBA and Leo Messi's in MLS, where last year MLS schedule makers were very clearly and deliberately set it up so that if Messi joined Inter Miami in the middle of the year, he was going to play in all the big venues and all the big markets. I think New York and LA were maybe 2 of his first 3 road games. As part of that, it was clearly deliberately set up. The W schedule also seemed very clearly set up for the fact that the Fever were going to be maybe the most desired team to watch in the league, at least at the start. They played the Liberty 3 times already. The Liberty are one of the best teams in the league. They played at the Aces. They've played already twice against the Sparks in LA. It does very clearly, and I think your point about maybe regretting it is right. But it does seem
should have had 2 against the Mystics already. Would have been good.
Yeah, they have not played the Mystics yet. That one's coming.
I mean, the Sparks are only 2 and 6, so whatever it is, what it is. But yeah, to have gone against the Liberty, and by the way, the Sun, they opened against the Sun. The Sun are undefeated, the only undefeated team. Yeah, I would have liked to have seen her maybe ease in a little bit more some of what would perceive to be the weaker teams.
I think that's right.
With some star power sprinkled in on Saturday afternoon.
Just like the Sporticast.
Yeah, exactly. All right, close it up.
You can find him on Twitter at Soshnik. I am Eben Novi Williams. You can find me on Twitter at
By the way, when you sit where I sit during the show, keep going. You do a lot of. Look, I'm getting your dawdles. Look at this.
If you're watching the show on video,
that's not. You didn't do anything on that side. Look at that. Look at you. Look what you're doing.
Sporticast digital media editor Cora Veltman would like you to know
this is big time art right here.
At Sporticast, really close.
I hope there's nothing bad on here.
Of the Sportico.
Look at that.
Media
Nice job. I like the tongue on that guy right there.